Should women be able to choose what to do with their bodies, including whether to have an abortion, or should government and others make that decision for them? It's a question that has divided the U.S. into two separate hostile groups, pro-life and pro-choice. Last year, 50% of Americans were pro-choice, whereas 44% were pro-life. Statistically, Americans' abortion views since 2008 have been considerably more on the pro-choice side than pro-life. The 1973 Supreme Court case of Roe v. Wade provided a constitutional right to privacy for all Americans, which included, for women, the right to choose to have an abortion. Yet ever since that decision, pro-life supporters have been trying to impose more stringent guidelines and restrictions around abortion with the goal of reducing the number of abortions in this country. In the face of opposition to what pro-choice advocates see as women's constitutional rights, there are three compelling arguments that support reproductive choice: individual freedom, victim protection, and birth control. Women must be allowed the freedom to choose how to live their lives under their constitutional right to privacy. For government to step into that role deprives women of their fundamental right to choose whether or not to have an abortion when they become pregnant. There should be no question that women have the right to make their own decisions about whether or not to have an abortion, and without the influence or interference of the government. Reproductive choice safeguards women from financial problems and enables them to have the authority over their own bodies. It's not the government's decision about whether or not a woman should give birth, which has amounted to denying women access to abortion. Instead, government must be a women's champion, upholding their constitutional right to take charge of their own procreative function. Another key argument in support of a woman's right to choose is that abortion is the result of a pregnancy caused by a violent act. Each year, thousands of women become pregnant due to rape or incest. These offenses can be extremely and emotionally scarring for the victims, who have to be reminded of it every day. Pro-life supporters claim that there is an increased risk of depression for women who have abortions. However, the risk of abortion would likely be much higher if women were forced to have the child resulting from such a crime. To the mind of a pro-life supporter, abortions can cause many health problems in women and may increase the amount of depression many victims feel. While abortion may not be the perfect solution to these problems in women, it is a legally and medically sound option. In addition, for women to be refused abortions, they may suffer other problems as a result of the pregnancy and birth of a child, such as being out of work, on welfare, beneath the poverty line, and possibly even subject to domestic violence. The third and final argument is birth control. Pro-life supporters condemn abortion as a form of after-the-fact birth control. While that may be true, most people believe that giving birth to an unwanted child is wrong, and pressuring women to give birth without their consent is unethical. In fact, fewer than 1 in 10 women who have abortions did not use any birth control products when they became pregnant. More than 90% used some form of birth control, but it was ineffective. Refusing to provide a safe, legal abortion may compel women whose intentions were never to become pregnant to give birth to possibly unwanted and uncared for children, or to risk their health and their lives by getting unsafe abortions on the black market. Today in the US, the majority of the country supports the pro-choice position. Even religious organizations like the United Methodist Church, the Presbyterian Church, and the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations are all in favor of a woman's choice of reproduction. The topic of abortion has divided the country for the past 4 decades, arousing passions, protests, and resolutions from both pro-life and pro-choice supporters. Ultimately, however, it is a woman's choice whether to use birth control, have a child, or have an abortion. Though abortion is legal in this country, there are many who continue to try and deny women of that option. But women, as well as men, have constitutional rights, and it would be a mistake for government to try and take those rights away.